Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Monday morning. Oh, man. How was that for a little post-Christmas chaos? There are so many things to get to. Utah Jazz, what are you doing? Trying to go to the playoffs? And the NFL playoffs are pretty much set. There's a few dramatic games. Of course, the Aaron Rodgers soap opera goes into Sunday night. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Winner gets the NFC North title and probably the right to lose their first playoff game, but whatever. We can get to all that. That was a heck of a Niners-Bears game in primetime. My gosh, that was wild. But, of course, everything is trumped by Kyle Whittingham to Michigan. Oh, he looks so weird in blue. And he wrapped up a press conference with "Go Blue." Okay. Wow. Where to start? There are so many stories. You know, I got to give Kyle credit for threading the needle and telling the truth. Okay, I'm going to step down. And then when he does his media availability, I'm in the transfer portal. So, you know, not totally surprising. I did think that Michigan had to be getting to him at some point, right? Okay, you want DeBoer at Alabama. I get it. The guy wins so much. You want Dillingham. I mean, he could be a younger Whittingham. You know, and the problem with hiring Kyle is, what are you going to have him, 3 to 5 years? And then what, you know, and Dillingham could have had 10, 15, 20 years, I mean, whatever, who knows? The possibilities would have been there, even though coaching seems more volatile these days. But when those two didn't want it, and Jed Fish, he had a history of handling a quarterback and, keeping Delora on the field and all that. And Michigan's had multiple scandals that they are, that in all seriousness, academically, they are one of the top public institutions in the country. I mean, the private schools, the Stanfords and the Harvards and the Yales and all that, right? But you get to the public schools in Michigan and Cal and UCLA, and, there's a small handful of them. I'm probably leaving somebody out. It's right up there. And to have not one, not two, 3 scandals, pretty salacious, just like, man, there are a lot of people in Michigan who don't like that. So they need someone who comes in with a rock-solid reputation and a long history of not having drama, not having legal issues, not having embarrassing stuff. So I just didn't see how much longer they could wait to get to Kyle. I mean, how many more names could be in front of him none, him. And now the ripple effect. I mean, it takes zero imagination to see Beck going as his offensive coordinator and to see Jay Hill as his defensive coordinator. They're working on that. What kind of language is in Jay's contract? How expensive is it to get him out of it? How is that written? He's at a private school, so you can't grandma that. Most of these contracts are public, and you can see what the buyouts are and how they go down over time and all that kind of stuff. But when you hear Kyle say we're working on it, it didn't leave me with the impression that it wasn't going to get done. It left me with the impression it was going to get done. And then I think the position coaches are super interesting and some key players. I don't think it'll be wholesale, if for no other reason than Michigan's got a good team. They're 9-3 now, kind of a soft Big Ten schedule, and it gets much harder the next 2 years. Indiana and Oregon rotate on for back-to-back games, so they're going to have to play 4 playoff teams next year. At least next year they play 4 teams that are currently playoff teams, and with guys going to the NFL and the transfer portal, who knows how good teams will be year to year. But I think we assume that Indiana and Oregon are going to be good again next year, and the other 2 teams, Ohio State and Oklahoma, it looks like a tough schedule. This 9-3 was a little softer. But nonetheless, they got some good players. The arrow seems up there. So I don't think he needs to, I don't think he needs to take a lot of players from Utah or BYU. It's also ridiculous to think that he wouldn't take any, And what does that leave you? He's probably taking the best players and best recruits. We'll see how that plays out. And maybe with some of the recruits, they do play a year here, and then Kyle's trying to get them in the transfer portal in another year. Have to see how that works out. Position coaches, who does Jay, traditionally coordinators get a say in hiring some of the position coaches. Now, Kyle's got to retain a couple people, and he said that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I did talk to one person I know who's way into Michigan football, who says that strongest coaches on the staff are the defensive coordinator and the running backs coach, and that they were really good at running back, which, I think Utah's got a pretty good running back, and I'd be a little stressed about losing Parker. But if they got good running backs, maybe that takes some of the pressure off there. Who will Jay Hill want off the defense? I mean, Satuala looked awesome, and he's only a freshman, so that would be one obvious one. But, as much as people are getting wound up about it, and I get it, I mean, this is a big story, and there's a lot of energy and emotion around these people. People are either attached, either loving them or hating them, and I get that. But to a certain degree, this stuff was going to happen anyway. And why do I say that? Well, because it just happened. Utah lost a run-stopping defensive tackle, high-profile to BYU, went down there and played well. And BYU lost a guy who, for reasons that aren't clear to me, didn't play a lot and didn't make a big impact, and he went up and seemed to be getting a sack pretty much every quarter at Utah. It was unreal. So why does one defensive lineman go one way and one go another? Who's to say? Personal relationships matter. Coaches have their favorites, and they get fired up about some guys and down on others. And even if they aren't, the players think they are, and they move off of that. So some of this was just going to happen anyway. And then with Beck gone, what is Morgan Scalley going to do for a coordinator? Does he want to hold on to somebody who knows Beck's offense, given the fact that so many skill players return? Or does he want to go with someone he's got a long-term relationship with? Does he want to try to pry A-Rod away from BYU? Because obviously they coached together for a long time, and clearly what we're seeing with all these guys is they all stick together. But A-Rod's got a relationship with Kalani, so maybe he just wants to stay there. He's got a freshman quarterback who's on fire. But on the other hand, there's a good-looking freshman quarterback up at Utah, too, with Ficklin. So I don't know what to tell you. And here's another question, and this is super intriguing to me. Now, Beck's offense was good at New Mexico, and it was really good at Utah. But Utah's offensive line was stacked. They had 2 first-round draft picks, and they had veterans at both the center and both guard positions. So would that offense work as well next year with a line that has to be completely rebuilt? And is the answer to that, well, I don't know, DJ, how are they going to rebuild it? Great question. Everything changes very quickly in college football these days. We know that, the way coaches move and the way players move. But this was an extra dash of secret sauce this weekend. My gosh, it got spicy fast. And now, I've seen all the social media. There's so many other storylines in that. Is Utah going to look foolish? Well, I think this story diverges here and goes 2 ways. One, obviously, if Morgan struggles and they're 4, 5, 6 win team for whatever reason, and maybe they just don't have enough money, and maybe they get hit by injuries the way they used to 2 years ago. I mean, there could be all kinds of things, right? Or maybe just Morgan just struggles. There could be lots of storylines. But if they do struggle, and if Kyle goes to Michigan and wins big, it's going to be like, you pushed out a sure thing, and now you got egg all over your face. Your guy looked good because he was under Kyle's wing, and he couldn't look bad because Kyle's so good and he knows what he's doing. I mean, certainly that's a potential storyline out there, and you people have left that all over our social media. So I know it's occurred to a lot of you, but I don't think that's the way to look at it. I don't think it's so much about what Kyle does, because whatever he does at Michigan, we know what he was likely to do at Utah. And he will be judged differently in Michigan because they have more advantages and they have higher expectations. More Big Ten teams get into the playoffs. Michigan's got the money and the history and all that. So Kyle's not only going to be expected to go to the playoffs, he's going to be expected to win once he gets there. And he knows that, and that's why he took the job. He said Michigan was one of the few jobs he'd go after. So this is all, self-evident stuff. I think that I think the whole Utah situation gets judged less on what Kyle does and more on what Morgan does. If they win, great. If they don't, it doesn't matter if they both win. It doesn't matter if they both lose. What matters is, does Utah win? If Utah wins, then this all makes sense. If Utah wins, even if Kyle goes and wins a national championship at Michigan, well, that's different than trying to win a national championship from Utah. It's just clear. The Big Ten has advantages the Big 12 teams don't have. So what Kyle does to me is the lesser part of the story. Not that we aren't going to follow it and we aren't going to be intrigued, because I know I am, and I can tell by the comments we see on social media, a lot of you are too. But I really think the judgment that falls on Utah, on Mark Harlan, and to a degree on the president, but mostly on the athletic director, it just has to do with whether Utah wins or not. If they win, everything else takes care of itself. And that is so often true in sports. You know, and if Kyle struggles, well, that's not going to matter if Morgan struggles. It's not. Did you know? If Kyle struggles, there'll be unique challenges at Michigan, and the definition of struggle is different at Michigan. It's really just going to come down to, what does Morgan do? And I think it's really intriguing to see how he handles this offensive coordinator hire. Who do they have the money to go get? How much does he want to preserve this? I don't know what to call Beck's offense, but it seems like it's triple option with a ton of run-pass options built into it. And stacking is the word now. We got to stack days. We got to stack recruits. We got to stack recruiting classes. We got to stack wins. Well, I think that what Beck's offense did last year, and again, maybe mostly it was about the O-line, but I think the year before when he was in New Mexico shows the ability to stretch people sideline to sideline with the threat of the fly sweep, whether you give the receiver the ball or not, plus the QB run game, plus the running back, plus when he pulls it from the running back, maybe the QB runs, but also then the QB throws. So that chance to get numbers, overload somewhere, and hit them with so many options they just can't defend everything, how much of that do they keep? And how much they go back to more traditional? And, you know, Andy Ludwig, and I've seen some comments about Andy too, blows my mind. You know, with Andy Ludwig, they went to the Rose Bowl twice. So I'm thinking he did a pretty good job. The results speak for themselves, but it was more traditional. And I really think what we saw with Beck's offense here reminded me a lot of what we saw with Urban Meyer. The ability to think we're going to stretch you downfield, but we're also going to stretch you sideline to sideline. And not even so much the stretching, it's just if that first step or two by a defensive lineman, by a linebacker, gives you a better blocking angle, it can make a guy who's really a B offensive lineman look like an A, or somebody who's totally average look above average. It does build in some advantages. And, man, that offense worked. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the defense with Morgan, it shouldn't change, right? It was Kyle's defense. It was his dad's defense. Morgan knows all about it. Morgan's had to adapt as the game has changed, but the core principles are there. And I think it's hard for any of us to believe the defense is going to change. So what's he going to do with offensive coordinator, and how much of what we saw with Beck are they going to hold on to? And that, to me, is an enormous part of the story and will probably define how we all look at the decision to say, hey, let's not lose Morgan. Let's force Kyle out. And I don't think there's any doubt he was forced out. And maybe that pays off. You know, if Morgan settles in and has a good 10-year run or more at Utah, then this is great. I mean, this isn't really on the board. It's not what we're talking about, but it clearly is on the board. It's not what we're talking about. But what if Morgan is really good? And I know he's a Utah guy, but the success of all the high school players in Utah and the success of the teams here led coaches from other schools to start recruiting Utah. Urban came back here and recruited. The entire Pac-12, when Utah started winning, the entire Pac-12 came here and started recruiting. The entire Mountain West Conference came here. Now the entire, well, not the entire, but a lot of the Big 12 comes here. And they've always come for players. But I wonder going forward if they're about to come for coaches. If Kyle's coaching tree is that good, what's next? And maybe this is it. Maybe this is a one-time event. Maybe we're about to see a lot more of this. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We still have to get to the Utah Jazz. We still have to get to BYU winning their bowl game. We will do that next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in. The Utah Jazz won. They beat Detroit, then they turned around and beat San Antonio. I mean, the Spurs have just beaten the world champion Thunder twice. We're off to this great start. Spurs have won 8 of 9. And I was out of town traveling, seeing family on the East Coast, didn't get to see all of the games. Man, when I saw the scores, first thing I did was check the box score. All right, was Cade Cunningham out? No, he was not. All right, was Victor Wembanyama out? No, he was not. Okay, were Castle and Harper out? No, they were not. Okay, good wins. You know, the funny thing is the bottom third of the league, we'll get into this later in the show, all these teams in the bottom third of the league, well, not all of the teams. Looking at you, Indiana, you're still second. But everybody else, the Nets, the Wizards, the Clippers have won 4 in a row. What is going on? We got all these teams that are 4-3 in their last 7, 7-3 in their last 10, 5-5 in their last 10. Everybody who'd just been completely awful, terrible, hideous, they're winning. I can't figure it out. So on the one hand, the Jazz are winning enough. If you're worried about losing the draft pick, I get it. You should be. It's in play. They could lose it. I know, and I have been told by people who are very well connected, they're not going to lose that pick. I got to say, even despite the fact the Jazz are 6-6 in the last 12 games, these other teams are winning, I could still see the Jazz finishing with the 6th worst record in the NBA. If they sit guys. But if they don't, it looks like they're coming. Keontae George is scoring, and he's not taken away from Markkanen. Markkanen scoring. These guys both seem to be 28, 29, 30, 31 points a game, bang, bang. And other guys are filling in. One night, Sensabaugh has a 20-point game. The next night, Walt Clayton Jr. can't miss. They got something going. Let's get to the best of the postgame show after the win over the Spurs.
Your Jazz recap here on DJ and PK 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott with you. What a weekend for the Utah Jazz. Game-winning shot from Keontae George Friday night to beat the Detroit Pistons. Then Saturday night on a super tight back-to-back, they go into San Antonio and beat the Spurs 127-114 behind 29 points from Lauri Markkanen. Keontae George added 28 to go along with 6 assists, and the Jazz get the unlikely back-to-back victories. Let's get some post-game sound and hear from Jazz head coach Will Hardy.
I want to talk about a few individuals before I get to some of the team stuff. I think this is very clearly Walt's best game as a pro. A lot of big shots, played with a ton of force, had some big defensive plays, showed some physicality on the ball defensively. It's been a tricky start to the season for Walt because of his minutes and opportunity. He's stayed ready. He has worked really hard. He's taken the coaching. But it's because of his approach. Like, Walt has recognized that this is his role on this team right now. I think he picked his spots tonight to be aggressive, obviously shot the ball great. And then Cody, I thought, gave us some spectacular minutes tonight. I thought defensively he was tremendous. Stirring it up, a couple of big finishes around the rim, had some really nice drive and kick plays offensively, and it's not easy to do what Cody is doing. He's not in the rotation every night, and for him to stay ready and stay focused, his approach to understanding personnel and the game plan is elite, and Cody deserves a ton of credit because for him to play those minutes tonight, play almost 20 minutes, he ends up having 6 rebounds. I thought, again, his defense was tremendous. I think those two guys were outstanding. Nurk, Wembanyama turns in a good stat line from a point standpoint, but I thought that Nurk, his physicality, he did a really good job one-on-one with Wembanyama. Obviously, there are a lot of times where it takes our whole team to guard him, but I want to make sure that Nurk gets some credit. Keontae and Lauri, after the games they had last night, to step up the way they did. Again, you can't say enough about those two and what they're doing for our program. Their relationship, their play, the way they carry themselves is everything that we want to be about. And then for the team, it was a game where it felt like in the second half we had, a little bit of a cushion, but 10 points in the NBA now with the three-point line is nothing. San Antonio made their run. The building went crazy. And I think, again, our team is showing a lot of poise for how many young players we have on the court. It was 108, and we end the game 19-6. It's not easy to do that, especially on the road, but we've seen this a bunch of times this year where in close games our team is not afraid. They don't look scattered. They're very connected, and they're stepping up and making a lot of big plays. So I'm so proud of our group, and I want our guys and our fans to enjoy this win.
Going back to Walt for a minute, for a guy who's a shooter, before he got those 2 3-pointers to get to his shot, why is it so important for him to kind of drive and go add pressure to the rim to kind of maybe get into rhythm?
Yeah, I think Walt can shoot, but he's actually more of a scorer. And I think when you come into the NBA and you are a role player, but you can shoot, people focus on how many threes you're getting off, shooting a lot of catch and shoots, you're playing off the ball. And I thought tonight was a better representation of how Walt can impact the game offensively from a scoring standpoint. Obviously, he had the crazy and one where he gets bumped and throws up the floater, but I think his first basket of the game was a mid-range pull-up. And we want to try to free Walt up. I need to do a better job of freeing Walt up to be his whole self when he's playing, which is hard to do when the minutes aren't extensive. Tonight he gets, I think, 25, 23. But on nights when he's getting 13, it's a little bit harder, but I need to encourage him and continue to put him in some spots where he can be his whole self and not just be a spacer. Because if you ask anybody in the NBA, any player who is not a trained catch-and-shoot player when they come in, but they can shoot, if your life becomes only about making catch-and-shoot threes, that's a hard way to go. So I felt like Walt got into the flow of the game, got to handle the ball a bunch, played great.
When you look at the Pistons game and tonight's game, where you don't really have a chance to have a really, really bad quarter. You have to really play through all 48 minutes. How do you feel like your team's kind of reached a new level of focus, or how dialed in are they?
Yeah, they're incredibly focused. I think the thing that I've liked the most in the last 2 games is their ability to learn and adjust in the game. The first quarter was not our best quarter defensively. The start of the game against the Pistons, they were getting away from us and getting in the paint too much. And I think as the game goes on, the team is showing the ability to, in a timeout or in between the first and second quarter, make an adjustment on the fly. And that's a sign of growth. The best teams in the league can make adjustments really fast. Usually, we've had situations in the past where we've needed to kind of regroup in between games because it's harder to see it in the game and make the adjustment. But I think the team has shown the last 2 nights that they are growing in that area. To win the second, third, and fourth quarters in this game tonight, I think it's a great sign.
When you look at tonight's game and given the context too off of back-to-back and the tough teams, how do you view this win versus maybe the other wins you guys have had on your schedule?
Yeah, I think this is one that they should be very proud of. There's a couple of wins this year that stand out in your mind in terms of how they felt. Obviously there's a bunch of people that'll say, they all count the same, but to be in that environment against that team, the second night of a back-to-back on the road, it's something that I want the team to take pride in. It's also something that is important for us going forward because we've shown ourselves that we can do it. We know what that feels like because there's going to be plenty of opportunities in the future this season and beyond where we're going to be on the second night of a back-to-back, and it's going to be a road game, and it's going to be hard, and everybody's going to be tired, and our bodies aren't going to feel great. But they've shown that they can do it.
That's Jazz head coach Will Hardy. Let's move on to the players and hear from Bryce Sensabaugh.
Some really good fight in us. I feel like in the past there's been times where, we get down or we get, we lose the lead by, 5 or 6 points and we kind of just crumble. But I feel like, this year we've shown some really big fight in those moments where we get down. And we've been leaning on each other a lot. And I think our toughness and our attention to detail this year has been really good. So
Yeah, when it comes to the fight and also the focus, what has kind of switched maybe over the last week to kind of be as honed in as you guys are?
Man, the coaches keep us very locked in, and also it's just about us, our collectiveness, during the dead balls, we huddle sometimes, and just staying on point and staying focused has been really key for us because, like I said, it's hard to, fight back in these NBA games. So, I think, and even more than that, when we get up, when we get a lead, we did a really good job at fighting them off and staying up. So this is a really good game for us.
And also defensively, you guys held them to just almost 23% from three. What do you think is standing out on that end of the floor from you guys collectively?
Yeah, I feel like every game is just personnel, knowing who we're playing, knowing who we're closing out to, and stuff like that helps us a lot because, once you're in the right spots and you're, doing your work early, it's just pretty easy from there. You just got to know, who you're closing out to and stuff. So I think we did a great job with that tonight, and, it carried us through the end of the game. Thank you.
That's Bryce Sensabaugh got the start in place of Ace Bailey. 11 points from Bryce on 4 of 6 shooting. Let's now hear from Cody Williams.
As well, what stood out to you in your game?
I think the biggest thing is just the defensive effort and the attention to detail. I feel like not only me, but the entire team was locked into the scheme. So I feel like I did a good job of kind of executing that and then just playing with pace after that.
Being locked into the scheme seemed to be the theme just on this back-to-back with these two really tough teams. How locked in are you guys, and where does that kind of come from?
Yeah, I think we were super locked in this game, and I think that's the big thing about back-to-backs is not only mentally tired, you're also physically tired. So I think we're just able to get energy from each other in the team. I know Will says all the time, especially games like this, you're on the road, back-to-backs, you get energy from the team. You're not going to get it from the crowd or from anyone else. Social media are going to get it from each other in the locker rooms. I feel like that's kind of where our focus went, and then we were just locked into the details, and I feel like that's why we won.
Not to mention, it seems like the communication's really just taken a leap, maybe these past 2 games, even tonight in the huddles, a lot of communicating. How do you feel like that's helped you guys as a team? Yeah,
I think that just shows kind of how close we are and how much trust we have in each other, where, sometimes you can be, we're over there screaming at each other, in a positive way just because we're passionate about winning, and being able to take that positively and not take it personally and be like, oh, he just wants to win, he's trying to help me, he's telling me to be in low man so that way Wemby doesn't get a lob. So I feel like that's the kind of step we took forward is, just kind of realizing all we're trying to do is win and nothing we say in there is personal. So everyone's just able to listen and kind of say what's on their mind.
And then lastly, when you look at how focused you were on personnel with these 2 games specifically, Wemby or Cade Cunningham yesterday, how do you feel like you guys are going to take that into the rest of the season moving forward on that type of focus on personnel?
I think the biggest thing is we kind of see how good of a team we are, especially when we're locked in, just beat, I think it's the number 1 team in the East, and then just come over here and beat the number 2 team in the West. So I feel like it just shows, and we already knew it, but it also shows we can compete with anyone in the league. I feel like when we're focused and pay attention to detail, we're as good as anyone out there. So just does numbers for our confidence, just kind of shows us the blueprint, kind of shows us, hey, we do this every night, we're going to be in a great spot. Thank you.
That's Cody Williams, 8 points on 4 of 8 shooting, 6 rebounds in the win. The Jazz beat the Spurs 127-114. Next up, the Jazz take on the Boston Celtics coming up tomorrow night. Tip-off will be at 7. Pregame begins at 6.
All right, there's the best of the postgame show as the Jazz win again. That's two in a row, and they are now 6-6 in their last 12 games. They're clearly getting better. Clearly. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, the post-game results from, or post-game press conferences as BYU picks up another win. Win number 12 on the season. We'll hear from Kalani, Sitake, and some of the key players in the game. That's next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. BYU gets the win. They beat Georgia Tech. BYU is a 4-point favorite, and they won by 4 points. And way to go, Vegas. LJ Martin didn't play. Obviously, that changed the game. Even so, I thought they'd win by double digits. But you got 2 things. Clearly, you got the fumbled kick that gave Georgia Tech 7 easy points. It looked like the defense had a disaster in the first half with the 21 points. But, you give them the ball inside the 10-yard line. What do you expect? And then the offense with the pick in the end zone. That was a perfectly good drive. Could have ended with certainly with a field goal, maybe with a touchdown. And all of a sudden, and I'm playing, if, but, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But a 4-point win becomes 14 or 17 points, which I got to say is more what I expected. But BYU made the big mistakes and lived to tell about it. They get away with a 25-21 win. Let's get to the post-game comments now. The quarterback, Bear Bachmeier, who threw the ball well in that game. I thought he was pretty efficient there. Head coach Kalani Sitake and also Evan Johnson. Here they are with the media.
Great game, and just really proud of the guys, proud of the leadership on our team, and proud of these two specifically from the plays that they made. But overall, I just felt like got ourselves in a rough spot, unfortunately, but we've been in that position before, and I think the goal is to not be there in 26, so try to find ways to get ahead or maybe play with the same type of urgency from the beginning and carry it on 60 minutes. I think if we can do that, we'll be in a really good spot, but really proud of the guys getting 12-2, proud of all the coaches, staff, support staff, and really proud of the fans that showed up, and so we're really excited. Before we take questions, though, I just want to, just thank Georgia Tech for getting. It required us to play at our best, so we can because we knew how difficult they were. The matchup, seeing them on film, a difficult team, and like I said, they were ranked number 7 in the country at one time, and so great team, and fortunately we were able to make the plays and came out with a victory, and then I want to thank FCS and Pop-Tarts Bowl just for the hospitality that they showed us. We had so much fun here. I was worried about the timing, but then I realized we probably should have came maybe half a week earlier. That would have been great. But we had a lot of fun, and were able to connect. And throughout all the festivities, I'm glad that they gave us an opportunity to do some service. And for our guys to do it with Georgia Tech was really awesome, and just shows that bowl games matter. And I'm proud of these guys. I'm proud of the team for what they were able to accomplish in the bowl prep. I felt like we made a step towards becoming a better team, and I want to ride that momentum into 2026. But still a lot of work for us to do. But at this time, we should be thankful and celebrate the win. I'm really proud of the way Bear played the entire game. Obviously not at 100%, but he made big time plays, and he's always been consistent and always been poised and under pressure. And that's not anything that I did or the coaches. This is how he came, and we can really do some wonderful things with him going to next year. And then proud of Shmev, and he's been a lockdown corner for us all year, and fourth down play I know was difficult. Credit Georgia Tech, they made the play, but I was just proud about how he reacted. He made the tackle and got us the win, made the play. So really proud of the way these guys carry on, how they play the game, and how they conduct themselves off the field too. So it's an honor for me to be their coach, honor for me to be here. What questions do you have for them, and what questions do you have for me?
Start on the left, third row right jacket, and then we'll move to the front right.
Kalani, Alex Walker with Channel 9 in Orlando. First of all, congrats to you three on the big win. Kalani, a 12th win for this program is something that's only been done, I believe, 5 times, first time in 24 years. What does that say about the gravity of this, just to get to that 12th win as a milestone moment for this team?
Yeah, and I think the fact that we did it with a Big 12 schedule, it says that these guys are great athletes, great players, great talent, but there's a connection that they have, and then the leadership that they've been able to be leaders themselves, but also to connect with the leaders that we have with our upperclassmen. It's been a nice thing for me to see in 10 years of being the head coach, and I'm really excited about year 11 too. So I want to celebrate what we've been able to accomplish. These guys should be really proud, but I think we're just barely starting.
Ron Weaver, ESPN The Fan. The questions for Evan. Walk us through the fourth down and then obviously interception to seal the game.
Just something didn't go right with technique. Got beat. That happens at corner. But I was really just thinking about the next play after that. They came to me. Coach Hill gave a great call, and I got my opportunity to go make a play, and had a play like that, Texas Tech, that I didn't go get. So my only thought in my mind in that moment was to go get that ball, and that's what I did.
You mentioned Coach Hill. What adjustments were made at halftime as you guys shut them out?
Really no adjustments were made. It's just we came out with a lot more physicality, a lot more just want, I guess, and then we knew the offense was hot, so getting them the ball was our plan, and made that happen, and Bear made plays and the rest of the offense, and the rest goes from there.
Kalani, when you guys had Georgia Tech facing a 4th and 15 late in the game, Haynes King throws that 66-yard bomb. What's going through your mind at that point when you guys are just trying to wrap up the game?
Well, I mean, obviously we weren't excited about it, but Haynes King's a really good player, and I felt like, okay, tough spot, but Ev made the tackle, and it's hard to run away from this kid. So he made the tackle, and we still had a chance. And I just knew that if this defense can just bow up and find ways, just play fundamentally sound. I mean, we asked them to be more physical, asked them to we said it's going to hurt a little bit, and it's going to require you guys getting to the point of exhaustion. I mean, you guys saw him limping in here, so it wasn't like he was playing 100%, but all it takes is that type of mindset, and I was really proud of the way these guys played and the way that Bear led the offense. It was fun to watch.
Coach, both teams had 2 turnovers and 49 yards lost on penalties each, but only you guys were able to capitalize on those turnovers and penalties. So what's the mindset you instill in these guys to make sure that they go get those opportunities when they're given to them due to penalties and turnovers?
Well, I mean, the coach in me is frustrated about the turnovers because, I mean, we gave them the ball on the 5-yard line off of the kickoff, and then and then we walked away with no points on the interception, But we're still learning, and we're still getting better. But that's the game. Football, it happens. I don't think what I do like is how they responded. I mean, it's not like we're not going to throw the ball anymore because Bear threw a pick. You just got to keep doing it. It's not like we're going to not put Evan in man-to-man coverage. That's what we have to do. So it's a next play mentality, and got to trust that these guys are going to make plays. I don't see these guys making back-to-back negative plays, and so I'm really excited when we weren't playing that great. I felt like the offense was moving the ball. We just got to capitalize and put it in the end zone. The first drive was stuffed at the 1 yard. They made a great play. It happens sometimes, but we want to be aggressive. We want to make plays, and they were aggressive. They did that fake field goal, swinging gate type of run, and they made some plays. It was time for us to be bold and try to find ways to make plays and be aggressive too. And part of being aggressive on the defensive side is just guys got to make tackles when it comes their way. And I think Georgia Tech was trying to challenge our DBs to make tackles, and we just asked them to it might hurt a little bit, but you're gonna have to make some stops, and it's okay. And that's the game. I felt like it was such a back and forth, but if we can just minimize the mistakes, and but the mistakes are part of the game. I just like the reaction that we have to the game overall. We weren't hanging our heads when we went down 2 scores. We're excited to play. There's still plenty of time on the clock, and when you give these guys that much time, we're never out of it.
Bear, what % were you coming into the game, and then did you re-aggravate the injury? Like, I think it was even on the first drive. Or just take us through your injury status, as it were.
Yeah, I kind of was banged up, but and then hurt it a little more on the first drive, but I ended up battling it out, and it was a good win.
Bear, you haven't wanted to reveal much about your injury situation necessarily, but how tough has that been to overcome, and how have you changed as a quarterback? You not a lot of run attempts today. How has that progression been?
Yeah, well, it's a testament to Coach A-Rod and the guys around me, and them making plays and them doing their job, and all I have to do is do my 111th, and so it worked out.
Halftime stats, yeah.
Aaron McMahon with the Ann Arbor News. Kalani, I was hoping to get your thoughts on Kyle Whittingham taking the Michigan job and then the potential of him looking at Jay as his defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, I think I made the statement that it's hard to see Kyle not doing something with football, and there's the something. So that's and what that happened. He has a network that he goes to for putting together staff, and that's how football works. I feel really good about what we have going here, and we'll with the players and the coaches, we'll go with what we got. And I feel good about how we established the foundation. Jay's a big part of what we were able to do defensively for the last 3 years, and A-Rod's been doing that for a number of years too. So we feel really good about where we're at overall as a team, and it's those guys that made it happen for us.
I have two quick questions, or a first quick question. What are your thoughts on the jailbreak by pumping protein strawberry? And then second, and more importantly, this has been a bit of an odd pre-bowl period. How have you guys kind of navigated that and kind of cleared your head and got into the mindset for today's game?
In terms of the Pop-Tart stuff, it doesn't matter what you do with Pop-Tarts, I'm going to eat it. And I think a lot of us I probably had too many, but I can still eat some more. So, but in terms of the playoff committee and all that stuff, listen, they made the decision, we're fine. We got to move on and just keep playing football. I think what the committee did is it's a hard decision for them to go and put that together. But we love football. We're going to watch the playoffs. We're going to watch all the bowl games. I love that these guys want to play the game, and we had every play. The only ones that didn't play are the ones that were injured, and we held out. I mean, Jack Kelly wanted to play, we held him out, and LJ wanted to play, but he had that surgery. So these guys love football. We love football. It just so happened that we were outside of it, and that's okay. I love the maturity from our players that we earned another chance to play a game, and these guys came here with a great attitude. To be in here and had so much appreciation and gratitude for being invited to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and then their interaction with Georgia Tech and all the festivities. I was really proud of these guys, and that's how you do things in life. If it's not the way you wanted it to go, that's okay. Your reaction is going to be what everybody's going to define you with.
Bear, we've talked a little bit about what you've had to battle through in this game. How important, and Coach, feel free to chime in where you'd like to as well, how important was Carson Ryan to help you get back and find a rhythm out there on the field?
Yeah, he's an integral part of our offense, and he's a quote-unquote safety blanket when you need him. And, he balled out, and he's a dog.
His yak yards are good. I mean, Carson broke tackles and got some tough yards for us and helped us get the ball down the field. And so, it's been awesome seeing him doing that all year long. And Bear was great decision making. I mean, he didn't run as much as we've seen in the past, but Bear's proven that he can throw the ball. Threw for 325 yards, and he's, like I said before, still a pup. He's still young. Still a lot of, look at that baby face, So he's got a lot of growth to do, and I just know his effort and his approach to the game. He's got great intelligence in the game of football, and he's always willing to learn. And when you have a guy that's willing to do that, it's going to be really fun for us. And then on the other side, Evan's done a great job at preparing himself. I mean, look at the development that we've had with him, and he wants to remind everybody that he was a receiver in high school. That's what we recruited him to do, and so he's got the speed, but he's done an amazing job, and was able to get the play. So all these guys this has been a work in progress, and I'm glad that their coaches put him in a position to make plays for us.
This is for Evan and Bear, and Kalani, feel free to chime in if you'd like. Just what was that whole experience like, winning the game and then watching the Sprinkles team win, sacrificing Pop-Tarts down a toaster and getting to eat some of it? I saw, Bear, that you were going after the strawberry pretty good. What was that whole thing like? It was just kind of a fun ending.
I mean, it's unreal, just getting an opportunity to come down here, play in the game. It's just one of a kind, getting to eat those Pop-Tarts and hold up the Let's Eat sign. It's all fun, and we're super grateful to the Pop-Tarts Bowl for hosting us out there. They've been great to us, and Orlando's been a ball.
Pop-Tarts were good, so yeah, it was that makes it all better.
I love Pop-Tarts. Strawberry.
Cinnamon.
I like them all. So yeah, we listen. The bowl game was different than what we've ever known, and I like it a lot. And these guys did too. And so I don't think they should change anything. I mean, it was really cool. They get the energy from Georgia Tech fans and from BYU fans was amazing today. And man, I'm just really proud that we got to be part of that.
Kalani, can you confirm then that it's Jay Hill going to Michigan to join Kyle's staff?
No, I think Jay's going to make his own statements on what he's going to do. I'm just saying that, acknowledging that Kyle's at Michigan, and we've got people have some decisions to make. Guys have decisions to make whether they're going to go to the NFL or come back, and I'm not here to. It's not me, so I'm here to stay, and but everyone else can speak for themselves, and the program's in a really good spot, and because of a lot of people, players, coaches, and the people that have gotten to where we're at right now, and it would be awesome for me as a head coach and an honor for me to continue this thing going.
Evan, they played turbulence between the third and fourth quarters, something you guys are very used to. How did that maybe help you guys going into that fourth quarter? What led to that fourth quarter resurgence for you guys?
I think it's just our trust in our preparation. Coach Hill continues to prepare us throughout the week, and when you trust in him and you have someone making those calls for you, it makes it easy to go out there and make plays. Also, I feel like the whole off season, just our team has really bought into the culture, into the program, and all the little things. So just executing those at a high level has helped us be successful. And then, the turbulence, it just made us feel at home. So we're ready to go. We don't lose at home.
Coach, what did you make of Jovessa tonight? He seemed like he stepped up in a really big spot. It's been kind of struggled maybe a little bit in the first half, but got going in the second, and obviously the game-winning touchdown for you guys.
Really proud of Jovessa. I think A-Rod mentioned it before. He said we're going to give him a chance, and then I was just showing Bear his 7 runs for 48 yards and 19 was long. I mean, he did some really good things, and I think Bear put him in a really good spot. I mean, we talked about our depth at all the different positions that we have, and we were able to show it off a little bit. I mean, we didn't have LJ and Sione playing today, so it was good to see Jovessa and Enoch, represent, and they did a really good job. I mean, we opened up, the playbook was still open. We were able to do everything right there that we practiced that we would have done with LJ and with Sione, and this is so I said the future looks bright for us.
Kalani, 12-1 for this program, first time since 2001. What does it mean to do it, though, with this group, Coach Roderick, Coach Hill, Bear, Evan? What does it mean for this group in particular?
Well, I honestly, I'm just really proud of everybody. It's not easy to do, and to do it in the Big 12 and to do it playing a great team like Georgia Tech in the bowl game, and so we should be really proud. But we're still got work to do. So right now we're going to celebrate and have fun. Get some time off and let the guys, let their toe and their bruises heal up and stuff like that, and then get back to work. Though these guys only know one way, and that's to go to work. And I've never had to sit there and remind them to go to work. They've always been doing it. In fact, it's been nice as a head coach to have to tell guys to slow down a little bit when they're all in and ready to go. And so they're great sons, they're great brothers, and I get to coach that. And so, but with that, I want to do things within reason and know that this is a long process. We still have from here till August to get where we want to be as a team, and we're going to use all the time, and it's going to require us to really work.
All right, there's Kalani Sitake, Bear Bachmeier, and Evan Johnson after BYU gets the win in their bowl game in Florida and they beat Georgia Tech. When we come back, what is trending? All of the headlines, interesting stuff going on in the NFL and NBA. More on the coaching changes, well, certainly at Utah, but beyond that as Kyle looks for coordinators. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.